Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Pierce County Council in a committee of the whole. Today is February 9th, 2026. The time is actually 1:41. We apologize for the late delay, but we were not being heard on PCTV, and this is an important topic today. I would like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Committee Member Yonde.
Here.
Committee Member Morell.
Here.
Committee Member Kruger.
Here.
Committee Member Ayala.
Here.
Committee Member Denson.
Here.
Committee Member Herrera.
Here.
Committee Member Hitchin.
Here.
You have 7 members present.
With 7 members, we do have a quorum. Thank you all for joining us. We have one item on our agenda this afternoon, so there's not a lot of moving around, but I do want to set a couple of kind of housekeeping notes. We do have quite a bit of audience participation potentially today. It's not for sure that everybody that's in this room is potentially going to speak, but knowing that there is the potential that you may all want to speak, and everyone under our rules needs to be given the same amount of time, I wanted to let everybody know that we are going to be doing public comment on this, and you will be heard, but we have a Charter Review Commission meeting, and my staff and our Zoom, the actual meeting, has to go somewhere else to hold that meeting, and that is this evening. So we are going to do 2 minutes of public comment. Everybody will get 2 minutes that wants to speak. I can't change it partway through, so that's why we're doing that, and I'm giving you lots of time. So if you drafted comments and you want to go through and edit before that portion, we are going to get a presentation from staff. There'll be a chance for us to ask questions, and then we will open it up for public comment. We will always start in the room, and then we will go online. In addition, I mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again. If it gets too stuffy or you're uncomfortable or you just need to stretch, we do have a different room right outside of these chambers. You'll be able to see what's going on in here, and then you can come in to do your public comment. We will make sure staff lets you know if you're not paying attention. We'll just go in and check that nobody's sitting in there thinking they're going to be able to participate. So I'm going to check with my colleagues to see if anyone has any questions. Not seeing any. So we have item number 4, which is proposal O 2026-501, and we read it into the record.
Yes, but we do need to approve the agenda.
We do need, thank you, with our one item. Does anyone object to our agenda as presented? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Persons. So now we have number 4, proposal O 2026-501. Do we take a motion or you just read it into the record?
Read it into the record
Okay.
first.
It's been a while.
Proposal O 2026-501, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council related to the additional sales and use tax of 0.1% for criminal justice purposes as authorized by Revised Code of Washington 82.14.345, amending Chapter 4.28 Sales and Use Tax of the Pierce County Code to levy the additional sales and use tax, amending Section 4.48.20 Special Revenue Funds of the Pierce County Code to establish the Justice and Unified Safety Tax Fund for deposit of the tax revenues, authorizing fiscal year 2026 and 2027 appropriations from that fund, adopting a new Chapter 2.85 of the Pierce County Code, Justice and Unified Safety Tax Fund Performance Advisory Board, and setting effective dates.
Thank you. And this afternoon we have Ms. Kelly to introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair Hitchin. By way of background, proposal in front of proposal O 2026-501 in front of you today. In regard to this proposal, in 2025, the Washington State Legislature authorized the legislative body of a qualified city or county to authorize a 0.1% sales and use tax for criminal justice purposes. This authorization expires June 30th of 2028. Following June 30th of 2028, the legislative body of a qualified city or county may submit an authorizing proposition to the city or county voters at a primary or general election, and where the measure must be approved by the majority of persons voting to impose the sales and use tax. The tax may not be enacted if the voters have repealed the criminal justice tax or rejected a ballot proposition to impose the public safety sales tax in the preceding 12 months. To be a qualified city or county, the jurisdiction must have submitted an application to the Criminal Justice Training Commission for verification of eligibility requirements as outlined in RCW. the title for that chapter, Local Law Enforcement Grant Program. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office has completed their application to the CJTC. That was completed on January 21st of this year. A jurisdiction does not have to be awarded grant dollars to enact the sales tax, but the eligibility criteria to qualify for the law enforcement grant award and to be able to authorize the tax are the same. Following a jurisdiction submission of an application, the CJTC, Criminal Justice Training Commission, in consultation with the Attorney General's Office, has up to 45 days to notify the jurisdiction of eligibility deficiencies. For our jurisdiction, that would be March 7th of this year. If the jurisdiction receives a notice of deficiency from the Criminal Justice Training Commission, the tax may be enacted conditionally, and the jurisdiction may subsequently submit documentation remedying deficiencies. If the jurisdiction has not rectified all deficiencies within 180 days of the initial submittal date, which for us would, or for Pierce County would be July 20th, 2026, the Office of the State Treasurer must withhold $100,000 monthly of the collected tax until the jurisdiction gains compliance with eligibility criteria. This tax is stackable and does not contain a sharing requirement with cities. Pursuant to RCW, monies from this tax must be expended for criminal justice purposes, which is defined in the RCW as activities that substantially assist the criminal justice system, which may include circumstances where ancillary benefit to the civil justice and behavioral health systems occur. Jurisdictions that impose the tax must report annually to the Washington State Association of Counties on how the monies were expended. The proposal before you today is in response to O-2025-568S2, which is the budget trailer ordinance in which the council requested the executive's office to present a proposed ordinance to impose the 0.1% sales tax as authorized. The ordinance requested a spending plan for the new revenue, where the majority would be directed towards sustaining core operations, mandated services, and existing operations. The smaller portion of the plan would recommend investments that improve system performance and long-term community safety. Exhibit A in your packet establishes code authorizing the 0.1% sales and use tax and permissible uses. Revenue from that tax must be deposited into the newly established Justice and Unified Safety Tax Special Revenue Fund, or Justice Fund, which is to be expended for criminal justice purposes and may not be used to supplant existing funding except for criminal justice purposes. Exhibit B reflects the establishment of Justice Fund in Pierce County Code Special Revenue Funds. Exhibit C in your packet establishes the Justice and Unified Safety Tax Performance Advisory Board, which formalizes the Justice and Public Safety Funding Group. This advisory board will develop performance metrics in consultation with the Performance Audit Committee to guide county investments and recommend expenditures from the Justice Fund. Performance metrics and funding recommendations must come to the council for review and approval. The Finance Department, in consultation with the advisory board and in accordance with RCW, must submit an annual report regarding how the entirety of the funding was expended. The 2026-27 proposed spending plan begins on page 38 of your electronic packet and reflects approximately 80% of the revenue being spent on existing services and 20% on new investments. The spending plan was developed and agreed upon by the Justice and Public Safety Fund Group participants, which met between October and December of 2025 and who are present or represented in chambers today. The Finance Department is directed to implement the tax as soon as possible and is permitted to execute any necessary contracts with the State Department of Revenue with an expectation that collection of the tax would begin July 1st, 2026 and disbursement to begin September 1st, 2026. Fiscal and community impact notes are included in your packet with a projected revenue of approximately $35 million in this biennium. As of today, King County and City of Kent have received approval for their sales and use tax authorization and enacted the tax. 25 jurisdictions have enacted the tax pending CJTC certification, verification of their authorization. That includes Clark, Jefferson, Skagit, and King counties. And the City of Tacoma is the only Pierce jurisdiction to have enacted the tax thus far. The Executive's Office and Finance Department have prepared a presentation, which is in your packet, which further details the progression of the work group, criminal justice costs and revenue projections, proposed investments as agreed upon by the entirety of the work group, accountability and oversight provisions. With that, Madam Chair, I conclude my briefing, and thank you.
Thank you. And we do have several leaders from the executive side of the House, but I believe Mr. Lane is starting us off.
Good afternoon, council members. John Lane, Senior Counsel with the Executive's Office. It's my great pleasure to be here today representing the Public Safety Work Group and to provide an overview of the Justice Fund, which, as stated, is a 1/10 of 1% sales tax, or put in another way, 1 penny on a $10 purchase. The elected leaders in the public safety for Pierce County have determined that moving forward with the Justice Fund is necessary so that we can make sure that we maintain and continue to enhance the public safety investments that this community needs. They do not take this lightly. That is why they have ensured, or we have ensured in this ordinance, that there are significant transparency, accountability, and reporting measurements so that we make sure that there are metrics-based results that the public will see from the investments of this fund. If we could go to the next slide. So I and Ms. Demuth, Director of the Finance Department, will be going over an overview today, and then other members of the Public Safety Work Group who participated over the fall, as mentioned previously by Ms. Kelly, will come up and tell you a little bit about why they support this and how this impacts and benefits their daily work now and into the future. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, leaders from the Sheriff's Office, the Prosecuting Attorney, the Superior Courts, the Executive, Public Defenders, the Superior Court Clerk's Office, Finance, all came together to have a robust discussion throughout the fall about the opportunity available through Engrossed House Bill 2015 at the direction of the Council. There was lots of back and forth, lots of understanding, and together they agreed that this is where we should move forward and that this is in the best interest of the public safety to create a sustainable, ongoing revenue source to support the public safety needs. Go to the next slide, please. As I mentioned, this was not something that was taken lightly, and transparency and accountability measures were critical and are woven throughout this proposal. You can see that there is a Justice Fund Advisory Board, which is made up of the same individuals who came, and departments and offices who came together to put this together, so that they will continue to be invested as we move forward over the years. What I think was really important about this group was all of these different elected offices and departments coming together and weaving together a unified safety plan for Pierce County. And it's that unified safety plan that will continue to be worked as we move forward into the future. But we want to make sure that there are actual performance metrics that are determined in coordination with the Performance Audit Committee, which also, as you know, involves citizen representatives. So this group, in conjunction with the Performance Audit Committee, will come forward with the metrics that must be approved by the Council, and that is how we will continue to measure that these investments over the years are going to public safety and are delivering actual results. That is the critical point. If we're going to implement this 1 penny on $10 purchase, we still want to make sure that all of these investments are having the results that are intended when enacted. This is also a special revenue fund. That means that when we take from the budget, we draw down against this revenue fund. That, again, adds more transparency. So you can see anytime we put into the budget from this fund, you're going to have to draw down, and you will see exactly where the funds from the Justice Fund are going in the Pierce County budget. Also, there is an annual report that was required by the state legislature, but it's also required by the ordinance to go to the executive and to the council. And we ensure that any supplanting, making sure that if any funds used from this are going to pay for what are current expenses, that we make sure that they are dedicated and continue to be paid on criminal justice and public safety purposes. That is what we're doing here. That is what we're going to continue to do. That is what the public safety leaders who came to support this proposal all agreed upon. So, a quick overview, next slide please, of House Bill 2015, which Ms. Kelly already briefed on, but there is a grant program, and we will look forward in exploring that as the Sheriff's Office here, and that will be coming before you soon. And as we said again, the 1 penny on $10 purchase, 1/10 of 1% tax. In order to implement this tax, the county does need to meet the grant requirements, which we believe we do, and the Sheriff's Office has worked extremely hard in cooperation with other departments and themselves over the last several months to make sure that that is submitted. If there are any discrepancies, as mentioned, there will be 6 months in which we can continue to work those out with the Criminal Justice Training Commission. We have reached out and are in touch with King County and Kent, who has been approved, so we can have lessons learned from there. We have had, and Under Sheriff Fajardo has had strong conversations with the Criminal Justice Training Commission, and they really want to make sure that we do meet these requirements. And so while there's a penalty that's a possibility, we feel confident that we're going to be approved and that penalty is not going to be something that is going to happen. As mentioned again, any use of these funds have to be directed towards criminal justice purposes, which Ms. Kelly outlined in her presentation. So if we could go to the next slide. How we arrived here today, just a brief overview, which was alluded to. The legislature passed in gross substitute House Bill 2015 last session, providing this option. The executive sent a letter to the council in October notifying that we intended to explore this. The first meeting of the public safety work group was held in October. And at that first meeting, goals, assumptions, and principles were developed and agreed upon, and I'll get to those in the next slide. But in November, we made presentations about the funding requests that each office or department felt that they needed, and those were explored. The council, as mentioned in November, passed the directive to the executive, propose this tax with a spending plan. In December, we presented at the Public Safety Funding Group and determined their final spending plan. And we made a presentation to all of you before the Public Safety Committee in December, so to give you a full background on kind of where we're at. And then ultimately, we transmitted this ordinance with the supporting letter signed on by all of the members of the work group. So next slide, please. So as mentioned, again, this was the goal that the public safety work group came up with to ensure stable, sustainable funding for public safety and help our law enforcement justice offices, departments adjust to adapt and changing needs. This was determined, as I said, at the first meeting. It was reaffirmed at every meeting afterwards. We asked if there were any changes from anybody, and people continued to agree. This is the goal, and this is what we need to be doing as Pierce County. The assumptions was a significant portion, about 80% of the revenue would be used to maintain current services and staffing and ensure flexibility in the future to not lock in all new spending and ongoing costs and address future needs or opportunities. So again, this group understood that we have, and Ms. DeMuth will go into more detail, ongoing and escalating costs, and we're going to need this fund now and into the future to continue to provide the level of service that the residents of Pierce County are entitled to. The principles were to fulfill essential obligations and statutory requirements, not go backwards on existing capacity for justice partners, make progress on department strategic priorities, and be responsive to community needs. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Ms. DeMuth to look at more of the direct financial purposes and potential expenditures of this.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Julie DeMuth. I'm the Director of Finance for the county. This afternoon, I'm going to outline the fiscal pressures driving the need for a justice fund and how proposed revenues will be targeted to protect public safety services and strengthen our justice system capacity. Public safety and the criminal justice system represent 76% of our general fund spending. That's about $730 million in the current 2026-27 biennium. The general fund receives the county's unrestricted revenues. This is largely in the form of property and sales taxes, and is responsible for funding public safety and the county's criminal justice system. The general fund also supports a range of other legally required and essential public services, such as elections, licensing, property tax assessments, collection, code enforcement, our park system, recreation services, and medical examiner services. It also funds core operations like IT, finance, human resources, and our facilities. Deep cuts in these operational areas would directly undermine the county's ability to run basic government functions and legally required public services. As a result, there's very limited flexibility in the general fund to absorb rising costs. We are projecting a $34 million ongoing structural deficit by 2028, an amount that cannot be addressed through incremental reductions alone. To put that into perspective, a $34 million gap is larger than the entire general fund budgets of 13 of our county departments. An across-the-board cut could result in a $5.5 million reduction to law enforcement, resulting in the loss of as many as 37 law enforcement deputies. Even eliminating all of our parks and recreation services would still not be enough to close the gap. Addressing the deficit through cuts alone would require eliminating multiple departments and making deep reductions across many areas, including public safety. Because public safety and the courts dominate our general fund spending, large reductions inevitably fall back on law enforcement, corrections, and our courts. And without new revenue, maintaining our current service levels we have today becomes increasingly unrealistic. Next slide, please. Building on the structural deficit and limited flexibility that I just described, this slide shows how the general fund is already heavily concentrated in criminal justice. The 7 largest general fund appropriations are all justice-related, totaling $695 million of our $967 million general fund budget. Sheriff's law enforcement and corrections alone exceed $400 million, and this is before accounting for courts, prosecution, public defense, and juvenile rehabilitation services. The remainder of the general fund supports core operations and other statutorily required county services. In practical terms, there is no large, flexible other category available to absorb justice cost growth. Major areas often assumed to be discretionary, such as housing, homelessness, and behavioral health, are primarily supported by other dedicated revenue sources and not the general fund. When justice system costs increase, counties have very limited revenue tools available, which leaves us with 2 realistic options: deep reductions within our criminal justice system and significant cuts to already lean, legally required general government functions. Without a new dedicated revenue source, the general fund does not have the capacity to accommodate continued justice cost growth without substantial impact to service levels. Next slide, please. So having shown how concentrated our general fund already is in justice functions and how little flexibility exists, this slide focuses on the growth trend behind that pressure. Since the 2018 to 2019 biennium, general fund criminal justice spending has increased 48%, rising from $504 million to $747 million in the current biennium. In the 2026-27 biennium alone, our public safety costs are projected to increase by $38 million compared to the last biennium. Legal and judicial services are projected to increase by another $19 million. This growth is largely driven by factors outside of our local discretion: state mandates, labor and benefit costs, rising incarceration expenses, caseload growth, and evolving legal standards. Even with vacancy savings and other ongoing cost containment strategies, baseline justice system costs continue to grow faster than our general fund revenues. Next slide, please. Taken together, the concentration and growth in our justice system costs translate into increasing financial risk for the county. Our risk model here shows that the county can manage our near-term pressures, but largely through one-time measures rather than ongoing sustainable solutions. The 2026-27 budget meets our fund balance targets, but it does so by deferring risk into the out years, where reserves are projected to fall below minimum cash flow thresholds. A minimum fund balance of 15% is needed to preserve the county's ability to respond to emergencies, economic downturns, or unexpected costs. Dropping below 10% creates immediate cash flow risk, meaning the county will be unable to meet payroll and other essential obligations. Without additional revenue, the primary way to restore balance is through service reductions. And because criminal justice represents the largest share of our general fund spending, those reductions will disproportionately fall on law enforcement, our courts, and our corrections. Next slide, please. So the financial risk I just described is driven by an ongoing structural imbalance that we have, the gap between our recurring general fund revenues and the cost of maintaining current services. Even under conservative assumptions, that annual shortfall grows to $34 million by 2028 and $46 million by 2031. It's important to note that these projections reflect only the cost of sustaining our current service levels. They don't account for program expansions or service enhancements needed to keep pace with population growth in our county or address emerging community needs. Absent new ongoing revenue, closing a deficit of this magnitude would require large recurring service reductions across our entire organization. The Justice Fund does not eliminate our entire structural deficit, but it meaningfully reduces pressure on the general fund and helps avoid cuts to our core justice and public safety services. Next slide. This slide highlights the county's largest and most immediate criminal justice cost drivers. These are pressures that are mandatory, they're structural in nature, and they are largely outside of local control. First, we have a state-mandated public defense caseload standards. Compliance requires a substantial increase in staffing, driving an estimated $32 million in added ongoing costs and nearly 50 new positions through 2031. Over the next 6 years, the county must add these positions to remain in compliance with state law. Second, the county faces significant exposure from tort claims, particularly related to our detention facilities. This represents hundreds of millions of dollars in potential liability and substantial financial risk. Third, our constitutionally required jail medical services continue to escalate as acuity increases, our jail populations age, and regulatory and legal standards tighten. Since 2020, these costs have grown by roughly $6 million per year and must be provided regardless of whether we have funding available. Fourth, our labor arbitration outcomes for law enforcement and corrections represent another unavoidable pressure. While specific impacts are still pending, historical experience shows these decisions routinely result in material ongoing cost increases. From 2020 through 2024, labor costs grew more than 25% for law enforcement and more than 24% for corrections, an increase of over $22 million in salary and benefit costs. Finally, the county must confront aging detention and juvenile rehabilitation facilities that require major upgrades or complete replacement to meet the safety, security, and compliance standards needed. These are not enhancements or expansions. Our adult, medium, and maximum security jail is beyond its useful life, and these are baseline reinvestments needed to simply keep the facility operational. These justice-related pressures exist alongside many other significant county cost drivers, such as our infrastructure, maintenance of our roads, bridge replacements. These further constrain our overall fiscal capacity. Taken together, these factors demonstrate that the county's cost growth is structural, cumulative, and it's largely unavoidable. Next slide. So given the cost pressures that I just outlined, this slide summarizes the consequences if the county does not move forward with the Justice Fund. By 2028, the general fund is projected to face a $34 million ongoing structural deficit. This is before accounting for any future program expansion or service enhancements. Closing a gap of this magnitude without new revenue will require deep, recurring, across-the-board reductions in both public safety and justice services, as well as our other core public services. Because criminal justice functions comprise the largest share of general fund spending, they would inevitably absorb a disproportionate share of the cuts. The impact would be system-wide, simultaneously affecting our law enforcement, our corrections, courts, prosecution, and public defense, rather than being isolated to any single department or function. Next slide. This slide explains how the Justice Fund is structured to ensure continuous investment in public safety and the criminal justice system. The Justice Fund is legally restricted. This is both by state law as well as the proposed ordinance before you today. It's restricted to law and justice purposes only. Beginning in 2028, at least 80% of all Justice Fund spending must be used to sustain public safety and justice services. This reinforces that the fund is it's intended to stabilize our core service delivery. Second, Justice Fund revenues may be used to pay debt service, including principal, interest, and financing costs for our adult detention and juvenile rehabilitation facilities. These are major, unavoidable capital obligations that we face. Debt service is paid first, and it's excluded from that 80% requirement. Third, a limited portion of the fund may support targeted evidence-based programs for individuals with current or prior justice system involvement. These programs must be designed to reduce recidivism and prevent entry into the criminal justice system. The legislation expressly prohibits using Justice Fund revenues for general population or unrelated programs. Fourth, strong accountability and transparency are built in. All recipients of funding must execute a data sharing agreement with the Department of Finance that specifies required data, reporting methods, and reporting frequency. Non-compliance results in suspension of eligibility for Justice Fund dollars. These requirements ensure the Justice Fund is narrowly scoped, primarily focused on sustaining our existing services, restricted to targeted justice purposes, and subject to ongoing performance reporting and accountability. Next slide. This slide shows the revenue impact of the Justice Fund. If adopted, the Justice Fund is projected to generate more than $27 million annually by 2027, providing roughly a 4% increase in funding for public safety and justice services. With Justice Fund revenues primarily dedicated to sustaining current operations, that projected gap is reduced to approximately $10 to $12 million. So in other words, the Justice Fund does not eliminate the entire structural problem that we face, but it removes the majority of the near-term gap and meaningfully slows the erosion of our public services. The Justice Fund provides a material ongoing revenue source that stabilizes public safety and justice spending. Next slide. This slide provides a high-level overview of how revenues would be invested in the 2026-27 biennium. Consistent with the guardrails that I previously described, the county proposes to use initial Justice Fund revenues for targeted strategic investments that stabilize public safety staffing, modernize equipment and technology, address critical facility and operational needs, and strengthens our court services. The largest share supports the Sheriff's Office, reflecting the scale and operational demands of law enforcement and corrections. A significant portion is also dedicated to information technology, reflecting that modern justice operations rely on shared, secure, and efficient systems. Investments in juvenile court, superior court, assigned counsel, and the prosecuting attorney focus on court capacity, timely case processing, and effective case outcomes. These investments are targeted and they are evidence-based. They are strategic actions to protect existing capacity and address known system gaps that we have. Collectively, the proposed investments total $36 million over the biennium. So the next set of slides that I'll walk through show these investment areas in more detail, including our ongoing versus one-time costs and the specific outcomes that they're intended to support. Next slide. Proposed Justice Fund investments for the Sheriff's Office total $25.4 million, reflecting the largest share of the proposed spending. These investments target both ongoing operational needs as well as one-time capital and equipment improvements. On the ongoing side, nearly $1.6 million continues hiring and retention incentives to support recruitment and retention of law enforcement and corrections deputies. This includes $1.1 million to provide retention payments for eligible corrections deputies employed as of July 1 of this year, and an additional $480,000 will sustain hiring incentives into the future. These investments help address critical staffing shortages in the Sheriff's Office and help us retain our experienced deputies. Approximately $1.1 million supports the expansion of body-worn cameras for corrections deputies. This investment improves safety, accountability, and transparency within our jail. $614,000 establishes a dedicated evidence technology management unit within the Sheriff's Office. This includes 3 positions to support law enforcement technology systems, including all of our Axon functionality, as well as compliance and technical support for our deputies on the street. Turning to one-time investments, just over $21 million is proposed for critical capital improvements to our county jail, which has reached the end of its useful life. A study conducted in 2022 estimates that approximately $38 million is needed to renovate the minimum security jail, and $390 million is needed to rebuild a facility to house our medium and maximum security offenders. While these figures have been adjusted for inflation, actual costs today are likely higher. $250,000 invests in life-saving protective breathing equipment and required certifications. This is to enhance our responders' safety during hazardous incidents such as fires or chemical releases. Finally, $500,000 replaces a specialized SWAT vehicle that's used in high-risk incidents. This ensures reliable tactical response capability and helps protect both officers and the public. Overall, $3.3 million of the Sheriff's Office proposal is ongoing funding, and $22.1 million is a one-time investment. Next slide. The Justice Fund includes targeted investments to strengthen the shared technology backbone that supports law enforcement, courts, prosecutors, defense, and corrections countywide. Modern justice operations depend on secure, reliable, as well as integrated systems. Without them, our cases slow down, staff efficiencies are lost, and our costs rise. These are one-time investments that build on LINKS as the county's core criminal justice system and improve how justice partners share information and operate across a connected platform. Approximately $2.1 million funds the build of a single countywide digital evidence management platform to securely store, manage, and share video, audio, and digital files. This system will be built within LINKS, and it'll replace the current solution that requires manual workarounds and significant staff capacity to manage. This system will improve efficiency and access for our prosecutors, public defenders, and the courts. $3.1 million addresses a backlog of LINKS enhancement requests from criminal justice agencies. These enhancements improve case processing speed, data quality, and system reliability in the county's primary case management system. Just over $1 million builds new case management functionality in LINKS to support the prosecuting attorney's civil caseload. This will improve workflow efficiency as well as data sharing. $168,000 replaces the end-of-life state system that is currently used by our district courts. They have no choice but to find a new platform. Functionality will be built-in links, enhancing information sharing across the justice system, and it'll reduce operational risk tied to an unsupported legacy system. Finally, a $3,000 investment implements automated transcription within links for audio and video evidence that are used in court proceedings. Collectively, these largely one-time investments will reduce manual work, improve collaboration and information sharing, and support faster, more accurate case processing across our justice system. Next slide. So given the significant investment being proposed in technology, I just wanted to provide a quick overview of two of our key systems. These are shared enterprise platforms that form the backbone of the county's justice system and support coordinated, efficient, and legally compliant operations across our agencies. First, LINKS is the county's primary case management system and central system of record for law enforcement, courts, prosecutors, corrections, and defense. It supports more than 8,000 public account users and thousands of active cases each year. LINKS enables end-to-end case processing from charging and court workflows to document management, jail management, and jury administration so that cases move through our system accurately and efficiently. Second, the digital evidence management system establishes a single county-wide platform for storing, managing, and sharing video, audio, and other digital evidence used in legal cases. It supports the growing use of body-worn cameras, in-car video, and other digital evidence across public safety. This system will enable secure evidence sharing among law enforcement, prosecutors, defense counsel, and courts, and it'll strengthen chain of custody controls, transparency, and legal compliance, while also delivering significant staff efficiency gains. The investment replaces an inadequate solution that we currently have with a unified platform. These are one-time strategic investments that strengthen shared infrastructure used county-wide. They will improve efficiency, accuracy, and accountability, and help ensure the justice system operates as an integrated enterprise rather than a collection of disconnected tools. Next slide. This slide highlights nearly $1.7 million in ongoing Justice Fund investments for juvenile court, focused on prevention, accountability, transparency, and youth outcomes. The largest investment, $1.48 million, maintains our positive youth development programs, which are centered on prevention, skill building, and early intervention. These programs are designed to reduce youth involvement in the justice system, improve long-term outcomes, and avoid higher cost system involvement later in life. The funding also replaces time-limited grants and ARPA resources that expire at the end of this year, and it'll provide stable, ongoing support for these programs. $43,000 expands the use of body-worn cameras for juvenile detention officers, strengthening accountability, transparency, and safety for both our youth and staff within Raymond Hall. $144,000 adds a dedicated public records officer to ensure timely, accurate, and compliant responses to public records requests. These investments focus on keeping youth out of deeper system involvement while strengthening accountability and compliance within our juvenile court operations. All $1.6 million represents ongoing funding to sustain proven evidence-based approaches. Next slide, please. This slide highlights investments that support overall justice system performance and unified public safety outcomes. On the ongoing side, $990,000 establishes a new Superior Court Judicial Department to manage growing caseloads, expand therapeutic court options, and improve case processing efficiency. This includes 3 positions for Superior Court and 2 positions for the clerk for the Superior Court. Also ongoing, $118,000 invests in AI-assisted legal research tools that enable prosecutors to analyze case law more quickly, draft documents more efficiently, and share information more consistently across partners. Turning to our one-time investments, $168,000 adds an investigator process server position for assigned counsel. This is to support timely case preparation, service of legal documents, and court proceedings. These functions are currently performed through contracted professional services. Adding this position allows assigned counsel to gradually reduce reliance on the contract, making the investment cost neutral within 2 years. Finally, $900,000 supports reentry programs that help people successfully transition from incarceration back into our community, reducing recidivism as well as long-term system costs. As directed by the council in the budget, Performance Audit will conduct a comprehensive review of reentry programs, assessing outcomes, cost effectiveness, coordination, and alignment with evidence-based practices. Initial findings and a system gap analysis is to be reported by October 15th of this year. So these funds will support implementation of recommendations from that review. Together, these investments address targeted gaps that affect multiple parts of the justice system and will help improve coordination, efficiency, and outcomes. In total, this category includes $1.1 million in ongoing funding and just over $1 million in one-time investments. Next slide. I want to close by grounding us in a few key takeaways from the presentation. The Justice Fund creates a dedicated ongoing revenue source for law enforcement, courts, and justice partners at a time when our costs are rising rapidly, mandates are increasing, and our revenue growth is slowing. The primary purpose is stabilization, maintaining current public safety and justice services, and avoiding catastrophic cuts, while still allowing for targeted evidence-based improvements where they matter most. It also strengthens coordination and accountability across the justice system through shared investments in staffing, technology, and infrastructure. Why this matters? The Justice Fund reduces our reliance on temporary, one-time funding strategies, as well as the use of our reserves to keep essential services running. It helps protect long-term system capacity and avoids the service erosion and instability that come with repeated reactive cuts. And it is carefully structured and accountable, with clear guardrails to ensure new revenue is used responsibly and for its intended purpose. In terms of next steps, council action is needed by March 3rd in order to allow implementation by July 1st. Next slide. I also want to take just a moment on accountability and oversight, as this is a core feature of the Justice Fund. The legislation establishes a Justice and Unified Safety Tax Performance Advisory Board to guide and review how Justice Fund revenues are spent. The board includes leadership from law enforcement, courts, prosecution, defense, finance, and corrections, ensuring system-wide representation and perspective. The proposal requires a unified set of performance metrics, subject to county council approval, to measure effectiveness and outcomes. Those metrics will be supported by a publicly available dashboard or reporting tool so the community can see how funds are being used and what results are being achieved. Justice Fund expenditures are reviewed as part of the executive's budget process. The executive must provide written recommendations to the council before budget adoption, focused on alignment with approved metrics and demonstrated outcomes. Ongoing oversight is also built in. The advisory board must meet at least twice per year, and it'll operate under formal procedural rules. Independent performance audits are conducted every 6 years to evaluate efficiency and effectiveness. And annual reporting is provided to the Washington State Association of Counties and will be available to the public. These requirements ensure Justice Fund revenues are used transparently, that they are tied to measurable outcomes, and subject to ongoing council oversight. Next slide, please. So I want to thank you, council members, for listening to our presentation today and considering this important proposal. I also want to take a moment to sincerely thank the Justice Fund Work Group members for the time, collaboration, and thoughtful engagement that went into developing this proposal. This has been a true collaborative effort, bringing together law enforcement, corrections, courts, prosecution, defense, finance, and policy partners to work through complex issues and build a balanced, accountable approach. The proposal before you reflects many hours of discussion, refinement, and shared problem solving, and I'm grateful for the professionalism and commitment everyone brought to the table. At this point, I'd like, if it's okay, to invite a few of the work group members to come forward and share some brief remarks with you. And then after that, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. So I'd like to begin by inviting Sheriff Swink to share a few remarks.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members, friends, community members. I'm so glad you're here. I'll be frank, I'm not a person that's just for taxes. I'm kind of, if anybody knows me, they know I'm against taxes, generally speaking. But when I sat down with this year and looked at all the things we need for the sheriff's office, it became abundantly clear to me we weren't going to be able to have it. And I know these things are important, and I know that the council, you know these things are important too. But when we got together with our group and we talked about what's important for us all, we all came to the same agreement. We all kept our words. And you know I've had my difficulty with some people here, right, throughout this, the council and with the executive. I'll be frank about it, right? But we all kept our words. We've all been truthful. We've all been honest about what's going on. So I'm going to tell you the reason why I decided with my undersheriff that we would be a part of this. And I want you all to make no mistake. We did the heavy lifting for this. Everything that had to be done pretty much had to come from our office. The application, we had a team together that worked hours and hours and hours on it to put it together, to turn it into the Criminal Justice Training Commission. We have more processes to do. We're going to have things we need to correct and fix, and we'll be doing that as we move along. But just so that you know some of the things that are really important to me, it's very important that we have body-worn cameras in the jail. And I know it's an expense for people, and they look at it and say, oh, $1 million. Let me just say this. Last year in our jail, 3 people died. I'm not saying that we had any culpability there at all, but we didn't have a camera to show what we did to save their lives, or try to save their lives, right? That causes civil litigation. $1 million is nothing compared to what might happen if somebody says we did something wrong and we don't have proof to show that we didn't do anything wrong. We have great men and women that work there, and I have complete confidence in them that they do the right things, but we need to have that. We also need to have cameras there so that we can show that if inmate or somebody like that misbehaves, we can show this is what happened, this precluded any actions taken by the deputies there in corrections. Then, of course, with all that comes an evidence technology unit. You have to be able to pull up all these videos and come up with policies and procedures about the videos, when you can use them, when not to use them, and be able to be transparent and turn them over to the community when they want to see, which I want to do, to be transparent as possible. And we already talked about earlier about the hiring incentives. It's very important that Pierce County Sheriff's Office has a hiring incentive for deputies on the law enforcement side. And on the corrections side, we have agencies around here that are offering sign-on bonuses for $50,000. It makes it very hard to compete with those agencies that do that. We do it because the Pierce County Sheriff's Office is a unique place to work and a great place to work. But at the bottom, at the end of the day, people want to buy houses for their family, and they're going to go sometimes to where the money is, right? So we want to be able to have that incentive to have them join us too. We have a SWAT vehicle that we use that's no longer even used anywhere in the world, I don't believe. You can't even find parts for it. So we need a SWAT vehicle, a new SWAT vehicle. It takes 2 SWAT vehicles, right, Councilmember Herrera? It takes 2 SWAT vehicles to be able to do your job out there. If you have a barricaded person in a house or in a vehicle, you need 2 SWAT vehicles. And this SWAT vehicle that we're going to get will be able to stop rifle rounds. It won't just keep deputies safe, but it will also keep the community safe if we have to go in and rescue somebody that's under a hail of bullets, a hail of fire. Just a couple of months ago, I think it was October, there was a suspect on South Hill, which is where we police at, who shot a rifle off over 130 times, right? So we need to be able to have equipment like that to go in and even save the suspect if we can. So, and then lastly, and this was completely foreign to me, I worked in Seattle for 33 years before I became the sheriff here, and we all had protective masks. We call them PMASks. We all had them. But when I got here, I found out that we don't have them for Pierce County Sheriff deputies. So if there's what we call a dirty bomb or anything like that goes off, they have no respiratory protection at all. And so that's a big safety issue that it's important to me to make sure that we protect the men and women so that they can protect you all out there in the communities. So like I said when I first started here, I'm not one just to willy-nilly raise taxes. And even though some people might say it's only 1/10 of 1%, 1/10 of 1% is still a tax that I'm not just good with just adding it to add it. But in this situation, in this circumstances, this is the right thing to do. These investments that we have with these are the first things we're going to have. There are other things that we need for the sheriff's office that we'll be able to purchase with these funds in the future. So I just want to tell you all that I'm for this ordinance. I appreciate all the work that all the group put together on it. Everybody was sincere. We hashed everything out, and before we put anything forward to you, the council, we made sure we all agreed upon it. And I just think you can tell that because we're all here today. And I'm going to give my opportunity for the undersheriff to say anything if you need to say something, because she knows all the nuts and bolts about this stuff.
Council Chair, Council Member Cindy Fajardo, Undersheriff for Pierce County Sheriff. It was a very arduous process to get the application. I know I'm not as tall as most people. Thank you. Appreciate that. But the contribution is great to the community. And I can tell you that the sheriff and I had very frank conversations about whether or not to support going forward with the House Bill 2015 application for the sales tax and also for the grant. There were a lot of changes that had to be made in the sheriff's office to be able to qualify for this grant, this sales tax. We're very hopeful that we'll be the first agency that gets a letter with no negative input, that we clear 100%, because we've put so much work into being very, very mindful of the application process. But to also talk about what the Law and Justice Committee members, the cooperation that took place. Every single one of our projects touches another one of the agencies or departments within that Law and Justice Committee. The improvements that's going to be made in the technology of the link system affects my detectives, my deputies significantly. That's where they get a lot of their information for their investigations and things that they need to be able to do their job. So to see that improvement and see the crossover between each one of the Law and Justice Committees is enormous. And frankly, Pierce County could not afford to do it. And we would be stuck with, potentially going back to paper subpoenas if we weren't able to get a system that was going to be in time and being able to progress. So it was an amazing experience getting to know the challenges of each one of the other departments in the Law and Justice group. And there was no negative discussion about the needs of the others. We frankly realized what we need to actually protect the citizens. And this goes back to the community. Our efficiency in being able to do our job reflects what the community gets from service for us. So fingers crossed that all goes well and we'll get an extra $100,000 a month with no penalties, and that's the goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
And if I could ask Madam Prosecutor Robinette.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Hitchen and other committee members. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak to you today about this issue. I have in common with Sheriff Swank that I am not generally favorable to adding taxes, but this is one that's absolutely necessary. The last thing I ever really imagined doing was being up here in front of you supporting an additional sales tax, but here I am wholeheartedly in favor of this additional justice tax. The number one priority for government, including this local government, is keeping our public safe. And that includes police and fire protection. That entails prosecution and court costs. but that is the number one priority, and it's really a quality of life issue. I've heard and read a lot of comments online about the quality of life being impacted by taxes, but nothing would impact quality of life more, in my opinion, than this county not being able to adequately fund public safety, and that includes police, that includes prosecutors, and that includes courts. We have the lowest cops per capita. The state of Washington has the lowest cops per capita of anywhere in the country. And that's not a new statistic. That's been the case for well over a decade. We have long response times in this county. We have long response times where I live if I need to call 911 and get law enforcement help. This is the largest part of the general fund that goes to law enforcement, that goes to prosecutors, that goes to courts. But the state has capped our ability to raise property tax. We raise property tax at 1% a year. And the last 5 years, the inflation has been between 3 and 9% for each of the last 5 years. It's no mystery why we're not able to keep up with increasing costs. We're losing ground every single year, and Ms. DeMuth pointed that out very aptly in her comments. I view this additional sales tax as giving us the ability to maintain the status quo. This isn't, in my view, a lot of new bells and whistles or a lot of improvements. There are some one-time costs for IT development, which will help us tremendously with the Link system and with automating certain things that we do and probably saving money in the long run. But our office is running very lean. We're responsible with our budget. We come in under budget every single year. And we have tried to reduce costs for not only criminal prosecution, but for civil litigation to protect the general fund of this county. I agree with comments I've read about this tax imposing conditions on the sheriff. It does. I don't like that. The sheriff and the undersheriff have done the heavy lifting on this by submitting their application to the CJTC. But, you know, the federal government puts conditions on spending. The state government has put conditions on this spending, as you can, as a legislative body, put conditions on spending. So that's just something that I think is a unfortunate side issue with this particular tax. And I appreciate very much that the sheriff has decided to go forward and try and comply with those conditions imposed by the state. This is a maintenance provision that I hope can keep us operating at status quo. The sheriff's department is running more, you know, with unfilled vacancies and shorthanded all the time. We're also running a very lean shop, and I know the courts are too. I would like to give the president of one of our bargaining units the opportunity to address you too. You're here, Bryce Nelson.
Chair Hitchin, council members, thank you very much for the opportunity to briefly address you. My name is Bryce Nelson. I'm the president of the Pierce County Prosecuting Attorneys Association. We're the labor group representing over 110 deputy prosecutors. We also support this along the lines of what Prosecutor Robnett, Sheriff Swank said. You may wonder, given that you saw the pie charts and there really wasn't a lot for the prosecutor's office, but we're all interlinked in this system. And funds that help the sheriff's department help us at the prosecutor's office as well. We cannot do our job effectively without law enforcement, and this measure will help the sheriff's department do their job effectively. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Next, Judge Evans, presiding.
I'm actually going to let it.
All right, Chris Gaddis, Superior Court Administrator.
We might bring you back up for juvenile court then. Council Chair, council members. Sorry, I'm a little bit taller than Under Sheriff. So Chris Gaddis, I'm the Superior Court Administrator. I just want to echo what was said today about the collaboration that occurred in order to get all these stakeholders in a room together and really talk about the needs of everyone involved and how everything is intertwined with the work that has to happen. You cannot have sheriff's office without the courts. It just has to happen. You have to have the jails. You have to have public defense and prosecutor. Everything is intertwined, especially here in this county with the LINK system. We have an amazing partnership, and this whole process was just, it echoed that very well. So for our 24th department, to go back a little bit in history, in 1996 we were approved for 24 departments. We had 18 at the time. And if you think back to 1996, the changes that have occurred in this county, I think we are probably close to double the population, and we added our 23rd department in 2021. Before that, it was 2005 when we added the 22nd Judicial Department. So it has been a long time coming that we have been dealing with the growth of Pierce County without the judicial needs that has been determined by our Administrative Office of the Courts in Olympia. And so the 24th Department, as a dedicated therapeutic court, make sure that the funding is available for that purpose, and we are then able to use the backfill department in order to address any additional needs for the county. Increases in criminal cases, increases in civil cases, family law cases. We have funded our therapeutic courts, whether it's felony drug court, family recovery court, felony mental health court. We started felony drug court in 1995, so we've had 31 years of drug court supported out of our general fund. That's something that our judges decided a long time ago that it was important that we fund that. Felony mental health court came about in 2015, so 11 years that we've been funding that court system out of our general fund budget. So the idea that we can now finally ensure that that funding is for a therapeutic court department instead of addressing changes in legislative law, changing in case law, it gives us the security that we have that can say, yes, these will be dedicated to a therapeutic court function. Judge Evans, anything you want to add?
I would just add this. By most estimates, Pierce County has around 70 to 75% of the cases of King County. We have somewhere around 46% of the judges. We do more with less. That is a Pierce County way. But at some point, we do hit a point where we can no longer stretch the resources that we have. And that's really, we're starting to get to that point. There's a variety of areas that we know we are underfunding, and we know that they will, if we funded those, we could have a positive impact on the lives of Pierce County residents. And that is really the position that we're starting to find ourselves in as a court, whether in juvenile court or in superior court. So.
Thank you, Judge Evans. And I would just add, it's not technically our list that LINK's improvements are going to be directed towards Superior Court, but I can say that the changes to Superior Court or to LINK's that are proposed will absolutely pay dividends for Superior Court. If you are not aware, LINK's is probably the best case management system in the country. We meet with people all the time that talk about the impacts of not having a quality case management system. That is not the case for us. We don't have the problems that most other places, and these changes will make us light years better than every other jurisdiction in the country. LINK's is amazing. It's only going to get better. It's more efficient. It's going to be more productive both for our stakeholders internally and for the public. So any changes you can make to LINK's is going to better the entire justice system. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Judge Sussman, presiding judge of District Court.
So, good afternoon, Council Chair, as well as Council members. I do want to indicate that as a judicial officer, I'm unable to advocate for or against any particular law, regulation, or ordinance, or to speak to the needs of any other department. I can only speak to district court and let you know that if you decide to pass the tax, a couple of the public safety needs that district court works with that I think were represented are with respect to continued funding for the Pathways program. And so that is the reentry program that has two different pathways, rapid employment or connecting people to treatment for persons who have specifically been involved with the criminal justice system through district court. And so that's Pierce County folks, as well as the case management system and the court, district courts working with the administrative office of the courts to see if we can make links a reality for district court. We have additional meetings along those lines. But I just wanted to provide that information. We appreciate the process that we felt was very inclusive for us and to other departments and to the courts. But I wanted to set out the limitations that I see for a judicial officer speaking in this capacity. So thank you for hearing from us.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, we have Michael Kawamura, Director of Assigned Counsel.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Mary Cahay, and I'm the Chief Deputy at Department of Assigned Counsel. Also here is the Public Defense Conflict Office Chief Defender, David Katayama. And we're here to let you know that we also support the proposed Justice Fund ordinance. I wanted to address just a couple of the proposals that will primarily impact us, but to let you know that this is something that all the justice partners have worked together and collaborated on. And I think you've heard that we're all interconnected in terms of the criminal justice system. But I want to specifically say we absolutely support the digital evidence management system, the build out and links. It is essential, and it helps us fulfill our essential obligations. We, both sides, prosecutors, defense, law enforcement, have obligations to share discovery. From the defense end, we have to review, we have to evaluate, we have to organize all these case-related materials, and that's just an essential part of making sure that everyone receives effective assistance of counsel. And we need a system that is tailored to the needs to efficiently do so. Right now, I know that we're all struggling to find ways to make that work and to make it work well. We just don't want to go backwards from where we've been. And then the other request that we have is for the Investigator 2 process server that will further compliance with the county priorities. I think you all know what the obligations are for indigent public defense and the Supreme Court order on those standards. And it's also, again, an essential commitment that this county has made and that our office makes. It is responsive to community needs. One of the obligations that we have is to provide investigation, mitigation as well, and these are appropriate for case outcomes that protect our community, that tailor sentences and outcomes to the individual need, which in turn, as we said, we're all interconnected, further our public safety. You know, currently, I think you've heard that a lot of our work is outsourced and it's costly, and it is increasingly hard to find qualified professionals to do this work, but having an internal staff specialist allows for consistent and reliable and high-quality mitigation support and investigation. And again, you know, the costs, I think you heard, should be fully covered, the position by 2028, so it makes it financially sustainable. Again, you know, we support the ordinance to mandate to improve not only indigent defense and caseload management, but it aligns with the county's priorities here for equitable access to justice and effective public safety and sustainable service delivery. So finally, you know, we do support this ordinance. It's good for public safety, it's balanced, and it reflects all of the county agencies working together to find solutions. So, we're hoping that if you have any questions.
Thank you.
So we are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so we're going to turn this over to questions. Vice Chair Herrera got his light up first, so we'll go to you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Taking it all in, I have about 3 questions. One may have 2 parts to it, so there's a lot of people here that want to speak up. So my first question is, we talked a little bit about the unified agreement with all the directors, which was a little bit surprising to me a little bit, and that they were in agreement to this proposal. I guess my question would be, was there any other proposal on the table?
No, each entity brought forward their highest priorities for consideration. We reviewed them as a group. There may have been a couple of minor items that didn't come forward, but that was based on consensus of the group.
Okay, so they just did, that was the only thing that was on the table, so they kind of had to, that was the only tool to get what they needed. In some of the enhancements that each department was depicted here today, you know, the SWAT vehicle and some other things there. I guess my question would be, were any of these in the proposal of the 26-27 budget, were any of those held back or voted down and possibly could be used as a carrot for this tax?
With our 2026-27 budget process, given all of the uncertainty we were encountering last year, as well as the fiscal pressures placed on the budget, we asked departments to reduce the number of budget requests that were brought forward. Had that constraint not been placed on departments, I think many of these items would have been brought forward. We had to suppress the requests because we were looking at the potential to address budget reductions in the current biennium. Instead, we used some one-time measures to help us balance the budget so that we could avoid reductions this biennium and try and address them in the future. So the number of requests that came forward through the budget process were limited.
Thank you. My next question is kind of a question that has to do with having some strings to Olympia a little bit on some of this. There's been a catchphrase probably around since about 2020 on reimagining what public safety is, or the definition of what public safety is. A lot of misconception to just the regular person out there that public safety is the sole responsibility of the sheriff's office. And that's simply not true. We know that. It involves a bunch of different agencies. When it comes, if we do this tax, we have some strings to Olympia. Who dictates what the definition of public safety is? Is it Pierce County's definition of public safety, or is it the state of Washington's definition of public safety? And what if we don't agree to that later down the road, if the AG or the Attorney General changes what that is and how we do business down the road?
Yeah, I just want to start off. As I mentioned in my presentation, there were a series of meetings. At the first meeting, the question was, is this something we should do or not? First question, first hurdle. Answer, yes. Homework assignment to everyone. Go back, tell us what you think needs to be spent on. Second meeting was those presentations. We went back, we put those all together. Third meeting, everybody voted unanimously, agreed. Everybody's top priorities were incorporated. All of the justice partners are incorporated here. Who sets what criminal justice definition is? Yes, there is a definition in the state statute, but it says it must be used for criminal justice purposes. Who determines what is spent in Pierce County? You, the council. The proposal that's going to come forward from the justice partners that they're going to look at and the metrics, we are going to put forward what public safety means to Pierce County with the partners, and it's going to come forward in the form of a budget, and it's going to show you exactly where every dollar is being spent on public safety, and then it's going to be the council that's going to approve that budget.
Thank you for the explanation. Last question, Chair, if I may. When it comes to public safety programs or services that exist today, what could be possibly cut or reduced if this tax is not approved?
I think everything is on the table ultimately. I mean, it'll be the budget. If we don't have the revenue sources, you will need to come up and figure out how you're going to make a balanced budget. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at here on this. In terms of, what the investments are, again, like, we want to make sure that, again, there's a unified collaborative experience. And that is what this Justice Advisory Board is going to come and meet with on a regular basis, so that we're looking at the system as a whole, using the metrics, and so that we're delivering results for the citizens of Pierce County.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I had many other questions, but I want to give everyone else a chance.
Maybe somebody will read your mind and ask it for you. We'll go to Councilmember Morrell.
You really?
You're next.
Okay, I will take a breath, but I have over a dozen questions.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. One of the issues that I've wrestled with, Mr. Lane, is the fact of, is there any other mechanism available to us to run this tax to get around the conditions and requirements of the Training Commission? Is there a route that we could go in this county to be able to do that?
No.
And why?
If you're going to use the tax as outlined in Gross Substitute House Bill 2015, the conditions, the grant conditions are a requirement, whether passed by this council or whether or not there was a delay into 2028, and there was some form of initiative, like it would require these conditions. But I'd also like to defer to the Executive Council, Julie Murray, on this question, who has done additional looking into it and can answer your question directly.
For the record, Julie Murray, Counsel to the Executive. John got it right. This is a tax that has a specific eligibility to it that is in addition to just being a county or a city. You have to meet those qualifications for the grant program, whether you do it now or whether you do it in the future.
Okay. In reading House Bill 2015, it talks about a June 30th, 2028 date. That if you wait until after that date, you could run a public safety and justice tax. But does it have to continue to meet the requirements?
Yes, because the law outlines what a qualified county is, whether you do it by councilmatic action or if you referred it to the voters after 2018, or if an individual were to put it on the ballot by initiative. It is an eligibility requirement that remains with this tax.
Okay, so there's no way around.
There's no way around it. Now, I mean, just for information purposes, there's one other sales tax that is available by a vote of the people that doesn't contain that. But again, it's the difference between when and how.
Right, and I know that, we heard this December 8th in the public safety meeting, so, taking a deep dive into this, I know we do have another option, and that is up to 0.3% that we could do, but the county would have to share those funds?
Correct. It's a 60-40 split, so you would get less money than what's being proposed today.
Okay, and that's on the books today?
Correct. And that's been on the books for several years. In fact, I was one of the people who helped pass that in Olympia, so it's been on the books for a long time.
Okay. Then I guess that kind of talks to the why now, not 2 years from now. I mean, we obviously have a balanced budget. And so why the hurry to do it now?
Well, if you look at and I want to be clear, that this is not, some people use this as a spending plan. These are actual appropriations because they're needs that need to be happening today. And the largest one that you see in the proposal is related to the jail. I don't think there's any disagreement that we have an issue with our jail. And we need to be deciding today how to create bed space for medium and maximum people who are currently in the old jail who may not be able to reside in there in the next few years. We need a backup plan. The other issue is that we need then to plan for a new jail, and that costs money. There is no, you have a balanced budget today to be able to pay a bond payment of anywhere of like $10 million. That $10 million in cuts you're going to have to find to this balanced budget. So we have to plan for the future now because someone didn't plan for it years ago. We have lots of deferred maintenance in Pierce County, and one of the largest ones you can see outside the window, and that's called our jail.
So you anticipate then with this new capital, the need for bonding, whether it be, and we've talked about Raymond Hall, we've talked about the main jail, and deferred maintenance, and even the new jail. I think in this ordinance, you do have funding to impact and make improvements to the new jail.
That's a renovation project that we are devoting in this proposal $21 million. I'm not here to guarantee you that it will only be $21 million. We have to do the scope of work, get the consultants in here, figure out how to build those beds. And that one is more likely to be this combination of cash and bonding if it were to be any larger than what you're devoting today.
So, I mean, I know that we don't have any firm figures, but what are we talking?
Well,
Between Raymond Hall and the main jail?
Yeah, we did have actually in the proposal or in the presentation, some numbers. I mean, for the ballpark estimate we have for Raymond Hall is a $250 million facility. You've got to, for the purposes of a medium maximum jail, probably assume at least double that. We have to start the work now so that we can know what that is for the future, but it's going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The same goes for some of our indigent defense costs. We're looking at tens of millions of dollars there. Like as I say, the future's not bright in the future for where we really need to spend money. And this was one of the few times that Olympia heard local governments call. We need money to sustain our basic services in public safety, and they provided the sales tax revenue. Many people complain about seeing more money for homelessness or housing. The reason for that is because Olympia provided us a dedicated revenue source for those investments. They've given us one for public safety, and so the question is, do you want to take it?
Okay. I think that's all that I have for you, but you can,
Right here?
Yeah, okay. Don't wander. And John, Mr. Lane? I know there's some other counties that attempted to pass a public safety tax prior to the implementation of House Bill 2015. I think Thurston County did one. I think Snohomish County attempted one. Did they fail? Do you know?
I'm sorry. I believe in Snohomish County, they attempted to pass a public safety tax that did fail. In order to qualify for this tax, you have to have passed the public safety tax previously, which this county has, which makes us eligible.
Right. So that window is closed for Pierce County to do. In other words, closed to get around the requirements. Because House Bill 2050.
Not getting around it. You cannot even apply this tax unless you've previously passed, what's the name of it? The public safety tax. The detention facility sales tax.
Right, but these counties attempted to pass it prior to 2026. Did House Bill 2015 come in 26, or was it in 25?
25.
25? Okay. So some jurisdictions beat the buzzer, others didn't beat
No.
the buzzer.
They did not beat the buzzer. They have not passed their 1/10%, or previously. So of the point, I'll defer to you.
Ms. Kelly?
If I may, thank you. I believe that there were, in regard to those measures that went to a ballot, that was the public safety tax, which is the one that Ms. Murray talked about, the 60-40 split. So that is different from the House Bill 2015.
Okay,
Does that
so-
help?
So that was the option that's been on the table for a
Correct.
while. And those jurisdictions, like Thurston County, then would have to spread that to Olympia, Lacey, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. That has been on the books since 2003.
And
Available.
Snohomish County failed there.
Correct. Snohomish County, Skamania County, and Spokane County
Okay,
in 23-24.
okay. The other question I have pertaining to supplanting. We get to hear that word supplanting, non-supplanting. The way that 2015 is written is, it is, how should we say, non-supplanting or supplanting? And can you explain those two differences?
Yeah. So generally when Olympia authorizes a county to impose a tax, they put restrictions and say you may not supplant. So that means anything that we're currently spending on, we could not use new revenues for. So that means, like, in this case, more likely than not, we would not be able to replace the SWAT vehicle because we already have a SWAT vehicle. That would be supplanting a SWAT vehicle. We probably wouldn't be able to use the funds to pay for the jail because we already run a jail, right? So maybe we could use it for, beds over 1,200 since we have that, and it would be new bed capacity. But, this county has gone to Olympia time and time again saying, please stop putting the handcuffs on council from making the best decisions as to what needs to be done to help the residents locally. So please stop putting non-supplant language on. And in this case, the legislature heard us. Okay, so there is not a prohibition against supplanting. Now, I want to be very clear. We are, like, our public safety policy elected leaders all came together and said we should be using 80% of this tax to pay and make sure what we're doing currently, and then using the 20% for new and potential enhancements. But no one wants to move backwards. That was in the principles that we outlined. And the way the Justice Fund is set up, as Ms. Murray mentioned, there's potential that we're going to need to use not just 20%, but deep into that 80% so that we can make sure we replace the aging facilities that we have. Otherwise, we're going to be told potentially by a federal court that you need to release those folks out of that jail. We're going to have a whole lot of medium and maximum security folks that we're not going to know what to do with, and potentially going to have to put them on electronic home monitoring, I guess, if we're told that we can no longer be in that jail. That is why we need to start acting now. We need to make sure that we are doing what is necessary to preserve and protect the infrastructure that we have and to make sure that we are promoting public safety.
Okay, so if we have a court order on the main jail to basically move inmates out, where would they go?
You know, I'm not sure I really want to get into speculation here today about that, but I would say they would present significant challenges, because I know the sheriff's office has already gone out and started doing that work to be prepared, because that's the type of public servants that they are. And I'll tell you, there are not a lot of good options, and we're going to need to move with exceptional speed if that were ever to become the problem. Yeah.
We haven't found any place that can take our inmates. So we've been working on it. There's some rules and regulations. We've been reaching out. It has to be counties that border our county only, so we can't get around that, and nobody has the capacity. It's really a dangerous situation.
So if I look at the numbers, that's over 600 inmates that use that main jail. Is that correct?
Yes, 88% of people who are in our jail are felons.
Okay. Thank you, John. Under Sheriff, I've got a couple of questions for you. I hope I'm not dominating time.
There's only one other light up, so.
Okay, good. Okay. Got everything adjusted now?
I think so.
Okay. My concern is the Sheriff's Department has ILAs with certain cities, whether it be Edgewood, UP for Crest. How is this funding going to affect the requirements or conditions of those cities?
The application for this grant or this tax doesn't affect the municipalities that we have contracts with. Currently, that's University Place, Edgewood, and Pierce Transit. They, independent of the county, can also apply for that tax. And I've actually met with them over what the requirements would be. They essentially would have a supplemental application that rides our application to be eligible. So not only would the citizens living in those cities have the 1/10 of 1% if the county enacted it, but they would also have the 1/10 of 1% if their local municipality also enacted.
Okay, so what you're saying is it wouldn't impact our
Would not
ability to
impact them.
contract? Okay. The other question that I have, and I think you alluded to it and a couple of other people alluded, it seems like the Sheriff's Department is in the driver's seat to meeting these conditions and requirements that this joint, what is it called, the JTCBAZ group, the JTTC requirements, and then some administrator has to review everything. How confident are you in, you seemed pretty optimistic, but since you're in the driver's seat, it's up to you, your department, to make sure we meet all these requirements. What's your feeling on that? Is there anything out there within these requirements that you just, no way?
Of the 35 pages of the application, we went through each particular question, which was very, very extensive. And we went and analyzed that based on how we were currently doing business. And on each one of those questions, we probably got through about 65-70% that no changes needed to be made. On the remainder, there were some minor tweaks that we had to make in our policy, and then some of them it was a total rewrite. And so that is why originally I thought we could get the application done within a month. It took us 3.5 months to be able to complete the application process because each one of those changes had to be analyzed, reviewed, approved by the sheriff, and then moved on to the next. So we did make some significant changes in our operation to be able to comply with the requirements of the application.
Okay, and you did make application, so
We did.
now you got 45 days from whenever that is.
Correct.
And then they have to respond back and say, these are the conditions that need X, Y, and Z, and then you have how long to,
I believe we have 6 months then to make any other further adjustments. So what they would do is on the 45th day, we would receive a letter that either says, yay, you're good, or here are the deficiencies that we noted in your application, and this is what you need to fix those deficiencies.
okay, thank you. One last question.
Not sure I believe you, but go ahead.
I know. And this goes to Julie DeMuth.
Okay.
One of the conditions that this fund, there's a little bit of concern that these funds go into the general fund. It's my understanding that they have to go into a special revenue fund?
That's correct. The revenue would go into what we call a special revenue fund. So it is its own dedicated fund. That funding source is then restricted to the purposes outlined within the ordinance and within state law.
So that's the purposes written into
Yes.
the ordinances before us. How does that get dispersed from your department? I mean, who requests? How do you verify? What do you do?
So we will administer it based on the appropriations included in the ordinance before you. It'll operate very much like our American Rescue Plan Fund does now, where departments spend directly against the special revenue fund. That will help us with reporting. It helps us manage expenditures. So it helps make it very transparent.
Okay. And I think you made the comment, or someone made the comment, basically, the budget process allocation lies with my colleagues here. They're the ones who can move funds around or say yes or no, but they still have to follow certain criteria within the legislation. But there again, this council can change things.
That's correct, yes. The proposal will come to the council during our budget development process. The council will be able to deliberate and consider what's in that proposal and amend and modify it as seen fit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience.
Thank you. We're going to go to staff. Ms. Kelly.
Just a point of clarification, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Muth, that council will receive both the funding recommendations from the advisory committee and then what is also in the proposed budget from the executive's office.
And they should be one and the same.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, so we're going to go to Councilmember Ayala, followed by Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Thank you, and literally everyone that's been a part of this process and joining us today. I had a couple questions, and I'll keep them short. I want to say thank you for the inclusion of performance audit in the co-creation of some of this work. It was mentioned that the Performance Audit Committee also has members of the public in it. So it's not just council members sitting there, but we do have that voice. And you presented some of what that would look like as it relates to the state and state requirements. So we're doing more than what the state is asking us in terms of that transparency and that accountability. For anyone that is not, let's say, not here today, or maybe they're here today and forget about it and would like to reference some of this accountability or really keep a close eye on what is, how this is being used. Let's say it's if this were to pass and it's a year from now, how might someone go about doing that?
We will have a dashboard available on our open Pierce County website, so that's where we plan to house all of the data that will be publicly available, the performance metrics and the outcomes that we see over time. Currently, I believe there is a website set up for the Justice Fund proposal, so all of the available public meetings and information is available to the public through that mechanism as well.
Great, thank you. And then so 1/10 of 1% feels extremely abstract to a lot of folks, and there are many individuals who I've come across that, though they can conceptualize that, I think some real world examples are helpful. Would you be able to share what the math is on an impact of $25?
It would be, I believe, 0.15 cents, less than 2 cents.
How much would someone need to?
0.5 cents.
How much would someone need to spend in order to collect $25?
Okay, you're asking me to do a lot of math on the spot here. It's equivalent, a $10, on a $10 purchase, it's an additional penny in sales tax that would be paid. So it would be a pretty significant amount of spending to get to $25.
Would it be, and I tried to do some math as you were speaking, and part of me feels like I did this wrong. Would 25,000 feel appropriate?
That potentially sounds right.
So someone would need to spend $25,000.
To generate $25 in revenue. Divide 25,000 by 0.01.
Okay, 25. So someone needs to spend $25,000 for an impact of $25.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm hearing yes.
So I wanted to put that forward just to calibrate what 1/10 of 1% looks like and how that may impact different people. So thank you so much for being put on the spot for this and for providing all the information. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions and for tackling math on the spot. We will go to Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot going on here. The sheriff's budget, as far as I can recall, has been pretty much consistent with the sheriff and corrections and and with the courts around 75 to 80% of the budget for quite some time. So that's been pretty much consistent. Okay, I just want to make sure it's not like, well, we've added all this much more, yet it's still consistent with the purchases. And on the supplanting questions, is that something that would have to be changed at the state level, or can the county change what can and can't be supplanted in time?
The council has the authority to change what can or cannot be supplanted.
And I believe I read where the dollars could be stacked with other taxes. Can you explain that, the stacking element?
May have been in reference to the sales tax itself. What that means is that cities can also implement the 1/10 of 1%. If the county were to implement it, that's a 1/10 of 1% across all jurisdictions. So, for example, in the city of Tacoma, they have authorized the tax. If the county also passes the tax, it'll go up by 0.2 of a percent.
Within there. Is this something that can be, if, like on a behavioral tax that is collected, can be joined with part of the tax that is collected with this just account to maybe get more matching dollars for another grant? Can that be done?
If the grant falls under the purposes of public safety and criminal justice as outlined in our legislation, yes.
Because I think in terms more of like in land acquisition, somebody can, get money from the PSAR account, and they can get money from maybe a conservation account and another one, and get those together to have more dollars available for matching. So that's what I'm thinking. This is kind of similar.
The purpose would have to be explicitly for public safety and our criminal justice system.
Correct. But it seems to me there are other taxes that can be used for the same purpose.
For criminal justice?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so they could be combined and used for more grant money, kind of a thing.
Potentially,
Leveraging.
yes.
And when the advisory group met, was there any discussions about how to address the state and their unfunded mandates and the effect that those have? That it just isn't necessarily always feasible to say, we'll just get more tax dollars from the constituents when all of those unfunded mandates maybe have taken their discretionary income. Was there a discussion on how to approach the state?
There's a lot of active discussions on that right now as the state is in session. So we have strong support from our government relations team, who is kind of actively advocating on behalf of the county.
Okay. And is there any available use of these dollars, if it were to pass, that would help inmates prepare for when they are out? What I think of is in Purdy, where they have had the dog training. That gives them a skill that is useful when they are out of the system.
Yes, currently there's $900,000 that is proposed for reentry services. That is to help support incarcerated individuals that are leaving the jail to help them transition back into the community.
Okay. And that is a one-time
It's
occurrence?
currently one-time.
One-time occurrence.
Yes.
And that could change with the council, so that's not like a set-in-stone kind of thing.
Correct.
And in here, I was noticing there were several agreements that are to be made, to be determined. So we don't know what the agreements will be in, I'm trying to think what the purposes were. The performance metrics and such, so we don't know what those are. So you
Not
have
yet,
to pass
no.
it to find out what's in it.
Right. There will be a proposal that comes to the council for your consideration, and council will adopt the performance metrics. So the data sharing agreements will be based not only on what those performance metrics are, but also any data that we're required to report to the state.
And the $100,000 penalty if we don't qualify, where does that go? Does that sit in an account to be returned when we do become qualified, or what's the plan for that?
My understanding is it'll go into the state's general fund.
Okay. And was there ever a discussion of reducing the amounts of the sales tax that is already collected? There are some that we can't, like, we're stuck with the transit tax at, 3/10, I believe we're at, and they have authority to go higher, and we don't have authority to change that. But was there ever discussions on reducing others at a small percent to maybe get to the dollars that we need for this?
No, there were not discussions around that. Any reduction in our other revenue sources would put us back in the same situation that we're in now.
Okay. And in the 80-20 split, so if whatever is used in the 20% that is for like a new, is that the reentry is used in that percentage? So that becomes an old program and no longer in there. Is there any kind of parameters on what new programs could be used that would grow government more to where it needs more tax dollars? That's kind of my concern, is that if we start picking up programs that are ongoing, that are just growing government, we're kind of defeating the purpose of trying to be frugal and stay within.
Use of the funds are very strictly defined in the ordinance. The intent is not to create new service areas. It's primarily to help support us in maintaining the existing service levels we have now and not have to significantly cut our criminal justice system in the future. The 20% is intended to provide flexibility to all of our criminal justice partners to address any new state mandates that might come forward, any unexpected increases in costs. It's to help respond to any changes within our environment.
And something that I'm trying to wrap my head around, so the current, like for the law enforcement and corrections, that's around 47% of the budget. Now, does that always remain there? That 47% stays for the purposes that it is used for now and doesn't reduce down to like 20%. And of the 20% of the tax not used for a bond purposes, that will remain the same percentage for the law enforcement of that leftover 20, of that 20.
If I understand your question, and correct me if I'm wrong, generally, yes, the amount of our general fund budget that goes towards the sheriff's office generally remains around that figure. I mean, it depends on how much their cost increases versus other cost increases we see across general fund departments. It tends to hover close to 50% of our general fund budget.
Okay, and that's not a guarantee to stay that way in 2 years or 4 years, correct?
We have historically always fully funded the sheriff's office budget, with the exception of 2 bienniums ago, where we had to reduce law enforcement deputies in order to help try and address this looming structural deficit that we face. But historically, we have fully funded the sheriff's office to the best of our ability.
Okay. I know I have others to think of, but thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Morrell?
You were right. Julie, my colleague brought up an interesting question. We currently have therapeutic or behavioral health sales tax. That pays for code responders within the sheriff's department. Could that be supplanted and moved over to this fund?
Yes, it could be. It's an eligible expense.
So it is an eligible expense. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that answer. The Superior Court's not going to get off the hook here. I would like to have Mr. Gaddis come on up.
Yes, sir.
My question to you is, obviously, you know, every time you bring forward a budget request for a expansion of the departments, you know, we ask you a ton of questions. My question is pretty much going to be simple. Do you have the caseload to justify adding a 24th department?
We do, Your Honor. Your Honor.
Thank you.
You got a promotion.
I got promoted. I'm out of here.
The problem of being a court administrator is that most of the people you talk to are elected judges. So we do. And I want to just make sure that we call out the caseload has changed over time. Over the last few years, it has stayed pretty stable. There's only so many cases that the prosecutor can file just because of sheer capacity. There's only so many cases that the Department of Assigned Counsel can handle just because of capacity. Depending on the workload of local law enforcement, it's stayed pretty stable over the last few years. I think the high was around 5,000. I think now we're probably pushing closer to 3,800 or 4,000 felony filings every year. The civil filings hover between probably 25 and 30,000 over the last few years, just to stay pretty constant. What has changed over the last few years is complexity. Whether you're dealing with cases down here at the County City Building or out at Raymond Hall, the cases have just become so much more complex, and it's the time that's put, not only from the judicial officer's perspective, but from all the other parties that are involved, whether they're guardian ad litems, there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into each case. So the cases are getting longer, more complex. So the idea that the numbers haven't gone up, the workload has increased. The amount of extra work that's come on board is also has to play into a factor, whether they're extreme risk protection orders, some of the changes in civil protection order work. That's more on some of that's on the commissioner's side of the house. But if we could just get the Washington State Legislature to not do work for 5 years, we could probably absorb a lot of this work. But if you recall back in 1996, they said that at that time we needed 24 departments to handle our workload. We handle our workload because the judges and commissioners, quite honestly, have over-obligated themselves. And actually providing that 24th gives them that relief to maybe even bring them closer to that 100% obligated workload. Our staff is the same thing. The fact that if we can move more cases, the prosecutor is going to be able to do more work, DAC is going to be able to do more work, clearing cases, getting cases out of our system, more pleas, more sentencings, things of that nature. Judge, do you want to add anything to that?
Can you come to the podium? We've got, thank you.
I would just say this. We consider it our obligation to get the work that we are assigned done and get it done as quickly as possible. But there is an old phrase, justice delayed is justice denied, right? Everyone's heard it. The reality is that a lot of the cases take longer than they should take. You oftentimes do have things that are not heard as expeditiously as we would like. A lot of us oftentimes move things within our calendar and make sure that we find a way to get hearings done. But there is a certain amount of time that's required in order to process a case and give all the parties the proper time that they should be allotted to argue their points. And as of right now, our internal workload standards say that we do not have enough judges for the amount of work that this court has on a day in and day out basis. So.
Thank you, Judge. I would just add that from search warrant perspective, back in 1996, I think we were hovering around 400 search warrants per year. We have 4,000 search warrants applied for every year that our judges review, district court judges review, and that's after hours as well. So there's a tremendous amount of work that our judges are doing that a 24th department certainly could support.
So it's true, they get a call on weekends and?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They average, the after-hours search warrant judge averages around 25 to 30 search warrants after normal work hours in a week.
Okay. And you're requesting 700K, I believe in this, and then 270?
So that's not mine, that would
Okay.
be the clerk's office.
Okay.
Additional staff, because when we add workload, or when we add bodies, the clerk's office sees an increase in their filing, sees an increase in the documents that need to be filed, the requests for more documents, things like that.
Okay. Okay, then do you have courtroom capacity for a 24th department?
We do. With the construction on the 7th floor, which created our family law services floor, for lack of a better term, that opened up a courtroom. Right now it's on the 2nd floor, but our judges rotate all around. And so we have had historically a judge on a cart. So every month a judge moves from one courtroom to another. They don't have an assigned courtroom. Because of the additional 3 courtrooms on the 7th floor, we now have the capacity to add one more judge before we have to go back to the judge on a cart.
Okay. On the 24th department, does the state fund any portion of that?
They do. They fund 50% of the salary of the judge and benefits for the judge. All others, the other 50% of the salary and the judicial assistant and court reporter come from the county. That's where the $700,000 is going towards.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I am going to remind colleagues that we have potentially at least an hour of public comment, and we can't have a hard stop. I don't know exactly what happens, but so please be mindful if it's a question you have to ask.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question on the CJTC and the relationship that we have with that if this were to pass. I'm concerned that it might become something similar to like the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency, where you have fees that you have to pay to that organization because they are the ones that would be doing the qualifications or certifications. Is that anything that you can expand upon?
There's nothing about that nature in the statute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any lights. I'm not encouraging any lights. So here's what I'm going to propose. I would like to take a 4-minute recess so I can go use the bathroom. I'm sure someone else is having the same issue. But when we come back, if you signed up to testify and you put a yes by your name, or I couldn't tell, I'm going to call you in order. I will say your names as best I can. You'll come to the podium, so I'll cue you so that you can get up and come to the podium ahead of time. So if you know you're going to testify and you're buried, maybe you're going to move yourself, rearrange yourself, that kind of thing, closer to an edge so we can quickly move through those that are in here. Then we'll go to anyone that's in the overflow room, and then we will go online. And again, you have 2 minutes, so you need to do any quick changes. So it is 3:45. We are going to be in recess for, I said 4 minutes? 4 minutes, till 3:49. We will be back at 3:49. I'm going to go ahead and, yep. Good afternoon. We are back. It is 3:51, and I was doing, along with taking care of some basic needs, a little bit of math. So we have to go to charter review. Literally, the Zoom has to like turn off and go, but we are required to do public comment. We had initially scheduled an additional committee of the whole, so this same situation, so that we could hear if we had more questions for our partners, if we had a lot of amendments. We didn't have any, but it's still on our books. So I'm just going to let you know that we are going to hear public comment. We will meet the needs here today. You can provide your public comment up to 2 minutes. However, next week on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m., head nods, 9:30 a.m., we will hold another meeting. We will not have the beautiful presentations. We will not have all of the stakeholders in the room. They may attend on Zoom, I'm not sure. And we will have another committee of the whole. So it will basically, in my opinion, be for questions of council members and public comment, and that's it. And so if that changes your mind and you want to have a full 3 minutes, you can always provide comment, but you, especially those of you that took the time to get down here, I want to make sure we get through them, and we have to give the same amount of time to everybody. So just throwing that out there, that if you choose not to provide comment today, you will be able to provide public comment at the committee of the whole, and then when it's heard at its full council meeting. So just wanted to say that out loud. Councilmember Morrell?
Thank you. Just so I understand, if they testify today, they can't
No, they can't.
testify on Wednesday?
No, they can. They can
Oh, they
get.
can?
They can. I don't
Okay.
keep track from meeting to meeting. It's a whole new meeting. It all reset, so they could all come back.
Okay, and what's our cutoff time?
We don't have a cutoff time, but I would really love to be done before 5 o'clock so that charter review can get set up by 6. So
Thank you.
that's the goal. So that's what I'm trying to manage. Charter review was not in existence when we were trying to do some of these scheduling things. So appreciate that. So I'm going to call names. I'm going to do like who's up, who's on deck, and like kind of without the baseball metaphors there. So, and if I don't say your name, you either specifically said no or I make a mistake. But if you didn't check yes or no, I'm assuming you wanted to speak. So I've got Nora Fleming de Sandoval, David Gardner, and then Austin Copel. And you have up to 2 minutes. The timer is over here.
All right, good afternoon, Chair and council members. My name is Nora Fleming de Sandoval, and I'm here on behalf of Safe Streets and the many grassroots neighborhood groups we work alongside across Pierce County. Safe Streets exists because residents believe safety is not something that happens to a community, it's something we build with each other. Every day, we support neighbors organizing block watches, youth prevention efforts, re-entry support, and partnerships with law enforcement and courts to keep people safe and connected. From that perspective, I want to be clear. The Justice Fund is not an abstract budget tool. It is a community safety tool. Across Pierce County, communities are asking for the same things: faster and fairer court processes, accountability and transparency in the justice system, prevention programs that keep young people out of harm, and support for people reentering our neighborhoods so they don't cycle back into the system. Those outcomes require stable, predictable funding. Right now, public safety and justice services make up the majority of the county's general fund, yet they are forced to compete every budget cycle while costs rise and reserves shrink. That instability hurts everyone, especially neighborhoods already carrying the greatest safety burdens. The Justice Fund offers a responsible solution. A 0.1% sales tax, about $1 on 1,000, creates a dedicated funding source that will allow the council to plan beyond a single biennium instead of reacting to crisis. From a community standpoint, what matters most is how the funds are used and how we are held accountable. We appreciate that this proposal includes transparency measures, a public dashboard, and oversight. That matters deeply to residents who want to see real outcomes and not just spending. On behalf of Safe Streets and grassroots community leaders across Pierce County, I urge you to support the Justice Fund and continue working with communities to ensure these investments deliver safer, more connected
you.
neighborhoods for everyone.
David and Austin.
Good afternoon, Council, Madam Chair. You know, since the beginning of time, every tax is passed because that's the magic one. It's just, you know, if we pass this tax, everything's going to be fine, rainbows and birds chirping, which begs the question why Washington State ranks so poorly for high taxes. Answer, because they keep adding one more tax. Washington consistently ranks in the top most expensive states for overall household burdens, housing, insurance, utilities, gas, child care, daily living combined with taxes were terrible. I had a wonderful professor in university economics who said, imagine building a brick wall and each brick represents one more expense for living. It's not one brick, it's the one more. It's a school levy tax, it's a park tax, it's a road tax, DMV tax, EV. They're all good. But we're kind of burying ourselves with this. According to the Tax Foundation of 2026, this is us. We're the 49th worst in sales and excise. We're the 47th worst in corporate and B&O tax. Pierce County property taxes are already higher than average, and apparently Olympia wants to increase that. Our gas tax, we're number 3 behind Hawaii and California. I wonder if this county doesn't have so much an income problem as it does a priority in spending allocation. If you think that Minneapolis is the only one that has fraud and waste, stand by. These rankings show why Washington struggles with competitiveness. Cumulative one more tax drives businesses and families away, adding another local tax. It was going to raise that wall, and it's most likely to fall on us. Finally, this tax comes with significant strings or handcuffs, as was mentioned. Why cede more local control to a state legislature? Olympia giveth, and
Thank you
Olympia
for your
can
comments.
taketh away. Often these conditions don't align with Pierce County needs.
Thank you. Austin, and then on deck, I have Ann Jolie and Carl Gordon.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Austin. I'm a new mother with a mortgage. I took time off today because it's important to me to let you know just how much the increases in the budget that you just passed already are impacting my family. My husband and I both work full-time jobs. We're trying to build our life, trying to take care of our child, and stay on top of our bills like so many other families. Sorry, I'm nervous. Even with both of us working, we already struggle to afford the basics some months. Last year's budget increase hurt us. We understood that you needed to balance the budget, and we accept that we would have to adjust and figure out how to make it work. We cut back, we shifted things around, we tightened our household budget the way that families do when times get harder. But now, after the budget has already been balanced, we're being told that there may be another increase through a sales tax. It may just seem like pennies to you, but those pennies add up. They have to come from somewhere. For our family, every extra $15 in taxes equals one more hour of work that we put in every week just to keep up. Maybe that's not how it looks on paper, but that's how it feels in our home, and that's how we measure it. And hours away from our child and time spent working just to stay afloat. We're not asking for special treatment, we're just asking for understanding. Please remember that behind every tax increase is a real family trying to make it work. Families like mine are already adjusting, sacrificing, doing everything we can just to stay ahead. Please don't add a bigger burden to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anjali?
This tax does not guarantee a single new officer, yet it allows hiring 19 full-time software engineers. This ordinance can backfill existing spending. The code says it cannot supplant current funding and then immediately creates an exception. That exception weakens the rule and allows existing costs to be shifted into this tax. It also allows maintaining existing programs, which could mean millions continue to go to programs that are not core essential public safety. This proposal is tied to state framework under HB 215. Those requirements can change. Compliance requirements can change, and if they're not met, the state gets our money. It requires implementation of state-defined policies and practices in order to remain eligible. It means our local justice system could be forced to shift priorities based on what the state defines as important, not what our community wants. This ordinance builds a system of data-driven policy, policing, and performance. but there are no clear answers on what data will be collected, who sets the standards, what metrics will be used, or who decides what is acceptable. If policing outcomes begin to be judged primarily by metrics, who decides what level of activity is too high or too low? Who sets the definition of success? Section 8 allows funding from this tax to be reduced if projected revenue is not met, or if there's a material decline in any other projected revenue, or if cash reserves drop. That means these public safety dollars are exposed to every other revenue line in the county. If something unrelated falls short, this funding can be reduced. So this does not guarantee stable public safety funding. There is also no sunset clause. This is forever. These are structural problems, not political problems, and they deserve serious scrutiny. Say no to this tax, please.
Thank you. Carl, followed by Greg Guzman.
Good afternoon. Coming to this meeting, I had many questions. I'm totally against a new tax, by the way, but seeing all the pie charts and the charts they threw up on the screen, it doesn't stop the problem. You're going to get excess funds, but you're not making a balanced budget. You don't balance anything. You get $36 million, where does it go? How do we balance the budget? You guys didn't balance the budget before you started this, and now we're doing a balanced budget now. You are spending money you don't have. You're sending money to different places that don't need it, but nobody's looking and nobody's auditing. Nobody's looking at where the money goes. Why can't we balance a budget? To begin with, provide the funding for public service, and then the little projects that everybody wants come second. Why does public safety always become the secondary role? Why? You're going to have all this money, and then you're going to have all these things tied to it, so that money is never going to get spent the way it's supposed to get spent. And then you put the sheriffs in a position where they have to explain where the money went. And if they don't adhere to what the state says, then they're going to have to pay extra. And that doesn't seem right to me either. So why are we doing all this and not really fixing the problem? We haven't balanced the budget. We're not going to balance the budget this way. So we need to come up with a better plan. There needs to be a better plan.
Thank you for your comments. Greg, followed by Kim Holt and Cheryl Fleming.
Good afternoon, Council Chair and members. As a service-disabled veteran-owned business owner, I want to start by expressing my unwavering support for the law enforcement community. I want to speak briefly and directly on behalf of the families of our employees as well as my own about the proposed tax increase and why timing is a concern. Just 3 short months ago, you passed a balanced budget as required by the county's home rule charter. Pierce County residents are already adjusting to rising costs, which make it more difficult for us and our employees' families to live where we work and love. Pierce County is already the 3rd highest taxed county in Washington State, only behind Snohomish and King counties. This also makes Pierce County taxed higher than LA County, Cook County, Chicago, and the New York boroughs. Tacoma alone ranks 2nd highest in the country, behind only Seattle, higher than New York City and Los Angeles, which are both under 10%. When money gets tight, we have to make careful decisions. Public safety should, as it already has been expressed, is a high priority in the budget at nearly 76%. But passing any tax immediately after passing a budget makes people wonder if you already knew that this tax was coming when the budget was approved. The timing seems odd, because from the outside looking in, it feels like the budget was already passed knowing that this tax was going to follow. And that leads residents to question whether the decision had already been made. We all support public safety, and communities and families are already stretched thin. Even small increases proposed increase the burden on the citizens of Pierce County. This won't stop at 1/10 of a penny. Each city will also add 1/10 of a penny. We all know that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Kim, followed by Cheryl, and then Connor Schultz.
Hi, my name is Kim Holt. I have spoke to you before, former police officer, detective from California, retired with a lot of time on my hands because my kids are in college. So I've been doing a lot of investigation on this bill and your budget and who you guys have been spending money on. One place is these nonprofits like Big Homies. You guys had a tax that came through, you talked about it earlier, that had, it was the behavioral tax. $537,000 went to Big Homies. I looked up Big Homies. There's not a lot of information out there. I drove around and took pictures of houses and places that they're supposed to be. I checked county assessors. I'm going to keep going. There's a lot of places I've been looking, not just Big Homies. There's a lot of nonprofits I've been looking at that you guys are all paying for. And we shouldn't be paying for that if we can't pay for our law enforcement. I am a huge proponent of our law enforcement. I will do anything for our law enforcement. I have great ideas that can maybe even help. You guys are not organized. I'm not trying to be mean, but this county is not organized, and this is why our money is where we're at, and this is why these guys are where they're at, and this is why we might get criminals on the street. Solution, listen to Ms. Krueger. I think she came up with some great solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that we keep reactions to a non-existence in the room. It'll let us go forward, but we're going to go to Cheryl, followed by Connor.
Madam Chairman, Council, thank you for your time. Let me start by saying I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement, and thank you for your service. I'm very much opposed to this tax, and to me, I'm opposing this tax because it allocates additional monies to programs we were already funding. And included in those programs are diversion, youth development, reentry programs, and the existing programs have not proven to be effective. We're throwing more money at them. I'm not in favor of that. Spending more on programs that are not working is not fiscally responsible. We elected you guys to help us and not to support the big donors of your campaigns. And I really do think there's a lot of that going on, and I would rather see people that are struggling to make ends meet and help their children get your attention. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Connor, followed by Marina Shea and Bethany Guzman.
Hello, my name is Connor Schultz, and I am the Community Mobilization Manager at Safe Streets. You already heard from Nora, who is my Executive Director. I do support this measure, and my condolences for having to face the inevitable backlash for those who are understandably very sensitive about their income. I'm in a very similar position. That said, public safety is probably the number one thing that people do expect from their government, wherever that happens to be. When I go out and I work with neighborhoods all across the unincorporated areas of the county, the perceived lack of law enforcement and other emergency services is the number one reason people talk to me about. I try to explain why it is so hard, how big this county is, and how little resources they have, and very rarely does the explanation of these struggles come off as helpful. It doesn't go over very well. And that's no surprise because people are frustrated and often very scared when they reach out to us for assistance. But to have those expectations without providing the necessary investment is guaranteeing failure in that effort, which will inevitably lead to more anger. That said, I do hope that there's recognition that while money is an important aspect in keeping things running, it is not the only thing that is necessary in keeping things going. There are a few items on the information that we've been provided that do seem a little unnecessary in my viewpoint. And then I also have to put in, of course, a plug for preventative measures, which is my job at Safe Streets and in my background, to make crime less appealing, not just from fear of punishment, but just because there are better options available to them. which I believe will save us a whole lot more in the long run. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. So Marina, followed by Bethany Guzman and Sarah G. Just going to say Sarah G.
Council members, the way I look at this tax, I look at it like in medicine. It's accumulative trauma taxes. They keep accumulating, and we just get more and more. We do not want this tax to pass because the county has not demonstrated reasonable stewardship of the money it already receives. Residents, I being one of them, are uncovering what I perceive and others as fraud, waste, and misuse across multiple categories. It is not the county's role to fund private charities or act as a pass-through for non-essential programs. The county's responsibility is to fund core services. Until existing misuse is addressed and corrected, asking residents for money, more money, is irresponsible. And through just my own research, and more to come for all of you down the road, I have found millions. And when I see one person's name on 6 businesses at one address, I think we got a little bit of a problem. So maybe we can look at this, because you guys gave these funds. Maybe you don't know you did, but you did, as grants. And the other thing I'd like to say is I have an idea where you can house these inmates. Why not McNeil Island? What in the heck? We've let that just sit. We have McNeil Island, and we have a certain core of sex offenders there, but we have a whole facility sitting there just doing nothing. What a waste. This is a waste of that building. And if you have to temporarily house inmates to get your future jail, I recommend that. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Bethany, followed by Sarah, and then Mark Nance.
Hi, my name is Beth Anna. This is my daughter, and I brought her to show that as a citizen, we have a voice, and our voice has weight, and I'm hopeful that our voice will be heard today. I'm asking you to not allow for this tax. I'm a business owner. We own an auto mechanic shop, and it is already hard enough to find trade workers in our state, such as auto mechanics, and these increasing taxes makes it difficult for skilled trade workers to work and live here. You are making it even more unaffordable. On behalf of our family and our employees, I am asking you not to raise our taxes. I can't tell you how many conversations are being had with other business owners talking about selling and leaving this state because of taxes. We have found enough misuse of our taxes and ask that you clean up the fraud and abuse of funds with the taxes we are already paying for the additional criminal justice needs that we absolutely support. Bottom line is, the county needs to rebuild trust by using the taxes we already pay for and what we have voted for. Work on finding the misuse of funds like we have as laypersons and eradicate the waste. We need your help to keep jobs and not run trade workers out of our county with the rising cost. A more affordable Pierce County attracts more residents and workers. Additional sales outweighs additional tax on less sales as residents find their own solutions as shopping in Kitsap or Thurston counties. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Sarah, followed by Mark, and then Jennifer Haas.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you. My name is Sarah Garriott. I am a fourth-generation Washingtonian, raising a fifth. I live in Gig Harbor, and I appreciate this opportunity to address you today. I, too, my husband and I are also small business owners. We oppose this tax. We definitely support public safety and our sheriff, and we agree that when the budget was balanced in November, that should have been the #1 priority. The #1 is public safety. That should have been first. And then the other things should have been funded. Instead of waiting, knowing this tax could come, that the state would give this extra grant, and that you could use this to advance this policy. I appreciate all of the great work the Public Safety Work Group put into this. And as they said, you know, our resources are spread thin, and there's only so much, and when it runs out, it runs out. You know what that happens to our local families as well, and our businesses, we're in the same boat. And when it runs out, it runs out. When you can tax people, But really, the revenue that you collect depends upon how the public reacts. Let me say that again. You can continue to raise the tax rates, but the revenue you collect depends on how the public reacts. The public is reacting poorly. As has been said, many businesses are planning to leave this state. The revenue will go down, and then what? Money does not grow on trees, is what our grandmothers used to tell us, and it doesn't. Please reconsider, balance the budget, and be responsible with this money. And I would also add, I heard the comment made during the public safety work group, there would be uncertainties. That was one of the things. What uncertainties? Well, if that was with regard to the federal funding, because of the sanctuary policies that this state has, then if they were in compliance with sanctuary policies, or in compliance, I should say, with federal law, then we wouldn't have to be worrying about drying up federal funding, would we? So please come into compliance with federal law. Thank you.
Thank you, council members and Madam Chair. My name is Mark Nance. I'm a proud Pierce County resident. First of all, I want to say I totally support Sheriff Swank, law enforcement. The presentation that was given by Julie was incredible. It was awesome, but it's putting lipstick on a pig. Anything that you tie to that ESHB 2015 will be lipstick on a pig. I appreciate the questioning that Mr. Morrell gave about what are there alternate ways to do it. I would encourage you to do that. Let's talk a little bit about finances from a different perspective. I appreciate Councilmember Alayas, hope I pronounced that correctly, trying to come up with some numbers just so we can get our heads around this. The average Pierce County family is paying $15,000 more this year, $15,000 more this year due to taxes, fees, and inflation. That's massive. That may not be a lot to you, but to that lady that spoke, it is massive. So the context for even a small tax increase is bad. This is a bad tax at a bad time. I don't know if you've heard of Laffer's curve. I would encourage you to look into it. It talks about as you increase taxes, eventually you get to a point where tax revenue starts going down. You increase rates, but taxes go down. How can that be? Because people move. And that's what's happening. People move. So I agree with a lot of the other comments that were made. Council Member Denson, you and I had an email exchange, and at the very end you said, this is hard. And it is hard, but that's why we elect you to do the hard work. I looked at the number of people that are voting or that are supporting and opposing this bill online, and it looked like there was 223 votes, and there are a few that are maybe for it. So it looks to me like 99.9% of the people are opposing this bill. So listen to your people, and we appreciate you doing the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. So Jennifer, followed by Rich, and then Shannon.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Hawes. I want to clarify that I'm not taking any public funds or grants, so my opinions are mine alone. I think Safe Streets is getting tax dollars, which is important to note here. I do massively support our deputies, and I want to say thank you so much for what you do for our county and for keeping us safe and doing the things that we know are very, very difficult. So thank you. We oppose this tax because it does not actually increase public funding. It doesn't increase funding for public safety. It increases existing dollars with new dollars that come with conditions and restrictions. There is no net gain in deputies, response time, or public safety outcomes. This is not new investment. It is a substitution that adds strings without improving safety. Nothing you can give us would be worth giving up our autonomy and our control of our sheriff's department. Please, please don't give up our autonomy. I'm going to say that again. Please don't give up our autonomy. I'm a business owner and an executive, and if I don't have a balanced budget, I run out of money and my business stops. Government should function with the same criteria, not an open checkbook. Let's fix the fraud. It's expensive enough to live here, one of the most expensive in the country. And please stop burying our families in Washington. We're trying to survive. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rich, and then Shannon. Shay.
Hello, just some research I did. In 2019, the average American household needed about $60,000 a year to buy a home. By the end of 2024, that number had jumped to $125,000. That kind of increase doesn't happen naturally. It happens when policy decisions drive inflation and erase affordability. Here in Pierce County, the numbers are just as alarming. In 2020, the basic living wage for a family of four was $105,000 a year. Today, before a new sales tax, before the school levies, before whatever the legislature imposes next, that number is $133,000. That's a 27% increase. Now ask yourselves, who has seen a 27% increase in income? I retired from the Sheriff's Department 5 years ago. My state retirement is capped at 3%. Even if I receive that full 3% every year, I'm already $6,000 behind from the moment I retired. Fixed income citizens cannot keep up with the cost structures that you are building. And yet last year, the legislature passed the largest tax increase in state history. Now they are working on doing it again. Tomorrow there are school levy votes. Today you are pushing another sales tax. Washington is now ranked as the 45th worst tax environment in the country. And it's worth noting, the other 9 worst ranked states are all blue. That's not partisan rhetoric, that's measurable outcome. The warning signs are already here. Boeing has moved new production out of state. Last year, before these damaging tax increases were passed, Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, warned you exactly what would happen. He said that this tax-first agenda would cause lasting damage to the tech sector, drive companies to relocate, make Washington less competitive for hiring and growth, and treat industry as something to be taken for granted. Well, I'm out of time, but what I'm going to say is you are killing people and putting people into tents with your choices. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. So Shannon Shea and then Shannon Zimmerly.
Good afternoon. Thanks for sitting through this very long time. I'm Shannon Shea, the Executive Director of the Tacoma Community Boat Builders. With 12 years working in partnership with Pierce County Juvenile Courts, providing positive youth development programs for young people diverted out to community, Tacoma Boat Builders and its many community partners provide a vital service to this community. I'm here to speak in favor of the Justice and Unified Safety Tax Fund, HB 2015, with a particular focus on how this fund will impact youth and families who come into contact with the juvenile justice system in our county. What I and my partners in community know from experience and validated research is that community-based interventions are effective and have outcomes far more desirable for youth, families, and the overall community than incarceration. The tax is not about growing government, it's about preventing far more expensive outcomes. Youth who penetrate deeper into the juvenile justice system cost the county significantly more in detention, court processing, and long-term supervision than youth served through early intervention and positive youth development. The most effective public safety strategy is stopping young people from entering the system in the first place. Without a dedicated funding source, prevention programs are often the first to be cut in budget shortfalls, which we have seen in this year. Prevention strengthens public safety. It doesn't debilitate it. If it goes through, the Pierce County Juvenile Court with its partners can continue to prevent young people from entrenching in systems and prevent families from having multi-generational cycles that are impacted by the lack of prevention in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Shannon Zimmerly and Jennifer Kay.
Good afternoon. I just want to be very clear that I do 100% support our sheriff's office. And being a victim of the prosecuting attorney's office and their malicious prosecution, I would certainly suggest that some of these implementations that you have in place, such as evidence, investigations, and things like that, that should already have been fundamentally most important in any budget. This isn't some new tax that you need to implement that will improve the job over at the prosecuting attorney's office. My taxes have gone up $24,000 I've paid in the last 5 years, and we have to compete with a neighbor who is encroaching on federal property, and you believe that you would most likely win in front of a judge, but public opinion may render a different verdict. It's the same thing over and over and over and over. You have criminals out there breaking laws, and you do not enforce them. So what are these these guardrails that you're going to put into this new program going to change the outcome for some of us who are innocent victims of your fraud and your crimes? I 100% support the sheriff's office. It's very unfortunate that there are other people in our county who have a problem with deployment of deputies, but yet the other night, in fact last night, I had 2 deputies go by my house. So I would really highly suggest that maybe you work better with your prosecuting attorney's office, and you all are very aware of the fraud next door to the property of my home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Kammeyer. I'm a resident of Buckley, so District 1. I also have the unique background of being a former Washington State auditor in charge specifically of Pierce County audits, and I have a finance director background in local governments and nonprofits. Public trust in government is really important. When you pass a tax with lack of voter input, that does not help build trust in government. In this environment, in this state, with all of these taxes that are being passed, yes, it's not just the county. Unfortunately, you're going to have individuals in your county that are not happy, and some of that is because of the taxes passed at the state level. I myself, I'm not paying for health insurance. I can't afford it. I have increased costs in housing, insurance, taxes, car-related items. I'm sure there's a lot of other things. I know I'm not the only person here in this boat. Does it bother me that I can't afford health care? Absolutely. 44% of business leaders in this state are contemplating leaving. We're not talking about individuals that lose their homes because they're foreclosed on because they can no longer afford to live in those houses. What are the contingency plans if the population does not stay as it is or doesn't increase, but in fact decreases here in Pierce County? Have we had those conversations? And what happens when people that leave this state that are businesses? You have people that lose their jobs, they lose their house. The homelessness, we haven't even talked about the unintended consequence of homelessness going up with these increased taxes. It's a whole big problem, and they're all interrelated. Unfortunately, the specific requirements with earmarking, SERP planning, all of these federal, state, and local government grants, it makes it very difficult to play the shell game and moving funds from one place to the other for what really
Thank you
occurs
for your
in
comments.
the world. Thank you.
Okay, so that's everybody that was signed in where I could tell you said yes clearly or you left it blank. Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to address the committee before we go online? Okay. Mr. Weinsberry, we're going to go online.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment on proposed number O2026-501, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or star 9 on your telephone keypad. And I see no hands at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Color me surprised. So seeing no other hands raised, I will bring it back before the committee of the whole and see if there are any additional, again, I'm going to recommend, because we didn't limit, you all had the opportunity, but we recommended we limit testimony, and I did say that we would continue it, and some people left, so we need to make sure we do that. I am going to recommend that we continue to the meeting of I want to make sure I get the exact date. I had it. 18th, thank you, at 9:30. Is there someone, is there any conversation? We do have a few more minutes, but I know some people have other meetings they're supposed to be at, so is there someone willing to make that motion then?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that we continue this committee of the whole to February 18th at 9:30 a.m.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue O 2026-501 to the committee of the whole meeting on the 18th at 9:30 a.m. Vice Chair Herrera, do you have comments or questions?
Just a comment on, I just wanted to make sure that if you use the word continuance, it's a continuance of the same meeting. Can a person speak at the same meeting, or this is a separate meeting? I'm just asking the question.
We're continuing the proposal.
Got it. Not the meeting. Got it. Just
So,
being clear. Thank you.
Yep. So if they spoke today, they will get a second bite at the apple. If we recess, they would not get a second bite of the apple. So that's why we do this. Okay. So the motion before us is to continue O 2026-501 to the meeting of the 18th at 9:30 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business before the committee of the whole this afternoon? Oh, but I need to turn on your mic. No. Okay, there we go. Seeing there is no, I do want to acknowledge and thank the leadership of the Public Safety Group, Sheriff Swank, Ms. DeMuth, John Lane, the prosecutor's office, all of the judges, the clerk's office, juvenile courts that showed up and had the conversations, did the hard work, did the deliberations to bring us something. I know there's a lot of interest in this, and I think that we were able to present something wherever people are going to land on this, they at least had your thoughts and feedback going into this. So I appreciate that work, and seeing no other business, we are adjourned.